Anyway, you got to see I would say it was not one of DeAndre Ayton's best games.
4 of 16 and rode Pine down the stretch.
He rode Pine down the stretch the other night against the Clippers too.
That's been a trend. The 4 of 16 has not been. He came in shooting 68% from the floor.
That's got to be the worst shooting. I didn't see the stat. That's got to be the worst shooting game of his career. There's no way he's missed 12 shots in a game before.
He was smoking layups left and right. But the most notable thing about that Clippers loss was post game, when a lot of people perceived it as JJ Redick calling out Luka. And I'll just read the quote. He said, "There's got to be a trust factor with all our guys just to trust the pass. That starts with Luka. He's going to have the ball the most of everyone. He's got to trust the pass. He gets 2 on him and he's playing in a crowd. He's got to pass the ball. I think as much as we can talk about being connected on defense, you got to be connected on offense." And so the last part there is interesting, because when JJ Redick is talking about Luka's got to trust the pass, he's not worried about offensive strategy, because guess what? Luka ball hogging is good offensive strategy. It's efficient offense. He's worried about, if the ball's not moving, if guys aren't involved, then he will tell you, it does just completely sap their energy on defense. Luka's passing impacts their defense, not necessarily their offense. And, Bontemps, you brought this up coming into the season. They've got a ton of guys who either have player options or in the last year of their contract. And JJ straight up, let's get it out in the open. He said, "I think it just goes back to the human element of everything. Guys are worried about their futures, and that's what happens when you have a team full of free agents and player options. I think it's just natural you're going to worry about the offense. I've been there. You can get in your head a little bit. I played 5 minutes. I haven't got a shot yet. That's a human thing. It's not anybody's fault." So basically saying, Luka, you got to make sure all these guys are motivated by involving them offensively, so we can be a somewhat decent and not dreadful defensive team. And it's funny because he said, JJ told us, the number of passes has no correlation to their offensive success statistically, but their highest passing games versus their lowest passing games, they're 4 points better on their defensive efficiency on the higher passing games. Now they are 7-0.
Good offense leads to good defense. Is that what he's saying?
No, ball moving leads to good defense, because good offense can just be Luka jacking up 35 shots if we're being real about it. You know what I'm saying? But if Luka's jacking up 35 shots and scoring 52 points and everybody else is kind of picking their nose on offense and going, "Oh, sheesh, man, what am I doing?" Then that's the way they're going to play defense. Shoulders slumping, I ain't touching it. Well, that sort of a thing. They are 7-0 and they have 30 assists. And after last night, they had 26 assists. They are 21-4 when they have at least 25. So again, it's
that's interesting, because, when you talk to, we talk about the Lakers. Bontemps and I are like broken records. We look at their defense and go, my God, their defense is just dreadful. And what JJ is saying there is that while that's true, the key to that isn't necessarily digging down more, but it's being more democratic on offense.
Yeah, and again, the ball hopping around is not necessarily about offensive strategy. It's about psychology. And, look, that's an NBA fact of life. How many times have you seen, Scotty Brooks used to run a post up for Perk on the first play of every game. You think that's because he thought that was efficient? Yeah, that's an old thing. They did it for Ben Wallace back in Detroit. Let your big man touch the ball early so he'll be motivated to do all the dirty work. And so, look, they have their defensive issues are personnel based first and foremost. But if you have personnel problems and motivational issues, that's how you end up a bottom 5 defense in the league.
Yeah, all that is fine, but at the end of the day, I was watching the fourth quarter of this game, and yeah, the Lakers came back and won against this tanking Mavs team, and there was some tanktastic play, I would say, in the fourth quarter of this game from Dallas.
Jeez.
Letting a game.
The Mavs have just won 4 straight, longest
I know, and they won
since Luka left,
and they clearly wanted to make sure that they didn't get another one. But at the end of the day, we're we talk about the Lakers all the time because they've got these two mega stars on their team. And, I saw after the game on Inside, Shaq goes, these guys are legit championship contenders, right? So
they're not.
Right. That to me is the only thing that really matters. Like, is this team does they actually have a chance to do anything? And the answer to that pretty clearly is no, as of today.
As of this season, no.
Well, and look, they have a lot of expiring contracts. They have things they could do with the roster. Perhaps they will make moves between now and next Thursday, about, the next 10 days. Perhaps they will do things to give themselves a higher floor defensively to have a chance to make a run in the playoffs. However, I'll go back to the Clipper game, which I think is a more relevant game here. Like, they got handled by the Clippers, who have been playing way better than them now for an extended period of time. And I don't know if you guys agree. I think if those two teams right now play a 7-game series, I would probably favor the Clippers to win.
How many games does Kawhi play?
Well, that's right. I mean, they have plenty of questions too, and I don't think the Clippers are any kind of contender. But at the end of the day, can they hang with Oklahoma City? Can they hang with even San Antonio or Houston or a healthy Denver? Minnesota, So, that to me, if we're going to talk about the Lakers and we're going to talk about these guys, yes, if they move the ball, everything JJ said is right. If everybody touches the ball, they're going to be more engaged on defense. They're going to try a little harder. But is that trying harder going to get them to a point where they can actually play against a really good team and win? I don't think so.
Here's the deal. When you talk about guys in the last year of their contracts with player options, it's not just the DeAndre Aytons and Marcus Smarts and, Jared Vanderbilts of the world. It's a fella named LeBron James who, frankly, knows that this is going to be it for him in a Lakers uniform. And Wendy, you've mentioned many times.
Knows.
Okay, who is a intelligent, extremely intelligent guy, especially about the business of the NBA.
Yeah, there's a chance this is going to be it. That's right.
Understands it's extremely likely. But listen, for the Lakers to be able to have the kind of roster reconstruction around Luka that they need to have, LeBron's salary's got to be gone. That's just a simple fact.
Well, maybe not all of it, but a lot of it.
Well, and by the way, if Laker fans are sitting there listening to the pod or watching it and going, well, what about Austin Reeves? Austin Reeves is going to be back soon. Why? Well, Austin Reeves is going to make the team a lot better. Austin's a great player. He was having a fantastic year before he got hurt. Austin Reeves is not going to help the defense get better. And again, this goes back to the fundamental problem the Lakers have had since the start of the year of having, if you have Luka and Austin and LeBron all on the court together, you have no chance to be a good enough defensive team to beat the elite teams in the league. Which again goes back to, there are massive questions ahead for this team over the next 10 days and over the next 6 to 7 months over, you got Luka in the trade. He's now on the roster. You now have to try to construct a roster around him that's good enough to be a real threat when you've got all these other ascended teams in the West. And there is an awful lot of work to be done to get the Lakers to that kind of place.
But there's also a roadmap. And it's another big-time scorer, creator, check. Austin Reeves will be that guy moving forward. Now, he's going to get a big raise, but he's got a cap hold this summer that gives you flexibility, because the other thing you need is length, athleticism, shooting, and a legit defensive anchor, lob threat, big man.
That's a lot of stuff when you have none of it.
It is, but you know what? They also have the fact that they are the Los Angeles Lakers, and I can just tell you, big men will do backflips to be able to be in that Lakers uniform paired with Luka. I was talking to an agent who's got a big man who may or may not be on the move, who would love to get his guy in LA. And big men are going to want to play with Luka. That much I can assure you.
Yeah, I think the Lakers' heavy lifting will be done in the summer. And I think if they do anything at the deadline, I think there's one of two things that would happen. One, it would be some sort of, something akin to what they did with DeAndre Ayton and Marcus Smart, where they get a guy on such a discount they can't say no, where they trade expiring contracts for a guy, they rent a player, whatever. or they make a move that's substantial where the guy is going to be there for years into the future. That's hard to do. They would have done it already. I don't think there's going to be somewhat of a middle path where they're going to be able to, do a deal that all of a sudden that leaves them their flexibility this summer, but also helps them immediately. I think accomplishing both of those are going to be next to impossible.
Well, and they also have a lot of money on the books this summer too. Like they do have a lot of free agent cap. They do have a lot of salary cap space, but they've also got between Jared Vanderbilt. I would assume we think DeAndre Ayton picks up this option. Jake LaRavia, Marcus Smart, who we expect to pick up this option, I think, and Dalton Connect. That's $35 million in money on the books. Now, maybe they can use that $35 million in trade to do things with the couple first-round picks they have. But, yes, they have Luka Doncic, and very likely will be keeping Austin Reeves. That is a good foundation to build from, but they're also trying to get the stuff, especially on the wings, that every single team in the league is looking to get. And it's not going to be as easy as just let's go find 3 or 4 dynamite 3-and-D wing players who are combo forwards to slot in on the wings and fill out this roster around Luka and Austin. Again, you'd rather start with Luka and Austin and figure it out, but it's going to be fascinating to see how they put this roster together, because they have a lot of holes to fill, and they don't have the most tools to go about trying to fill them.
You know who'd look really good on that roster? 3-and-D wing, shown some creation ability, 6'8", LA native, Peyton, pay him Watson. Oh, slice of that salary cap space, more than the mid-level Bontemps. I'll double down on that bet. That guy is getting paid.
All right, that's for a discussion for a later day. Then he's a restricted free agent before anybody makes assumptions. All right.
Oh, we can get into that, but go on.
So let me ask you something. When exactly did we decide that the Lakers were supposed to just accept mediocrity and call it building for the future? Because the last time I checked, this franchise with 17 championships wasn't built on the philosophy of let's wait until summer and maybe something good happens. And yet here we are, 10 days away from the trade deadline, watching Rob Pelinka navigate this roster like someone trying to defuse a bomb while wearing oven mitts. The Lakers are sitting at 27-17, 5th in the West, and everyone keeps asking the same question: are they actually going to do something? Or are we getting another round of we explored all options but decided to stand pat? Tonight, they face the Bulls in Chicago, a team riding a 4-game winning streak, and I can't help but wonder if this is going to be one of those classic Lakers letdown games where they lose to a team they should beat simply because they're still figuring out who they are. But before we dive into tonight's matchup, let's talk about what's been happening around this team, because trust me, there's a lot to unpack. Make sure to smash that like button if you want to see the Lakers finally make a move that actually matters. Let's start with something that's been floating around the rumor mill that honestly makes me scratch my head a little bit. There's this trade proposal out there that has the Lakers send in Rui Hachimura to Detroit in exchange for Caris LeVert and Javonte Green. Now, before you start yelling at your screen, meouch, because this is one of those trades that looks interesting on paper but falls apart the second you actually think about it. LeVert is 31 years old, making $14.1 million, averaging 7.9 points in just 20 minutes per game, and he's been dealing with an illness that's kept him out of 3 straight games. Javonte Green's 32, averaging 7.2 points, and while he's a solid defender who's shooting 37% from 3, let's be real here. These are rotation pieces at best. The Pistons apparently want Rui because he's a big power forward who can shoot, and Jason Tim literally named him as one of 3 possible upgrades Detroit could target at the deadline. But here's my question. Why would the Lakers trade away their most consistent 3-point threat? A guy who just dropped 17 points and 8 rebounds with 4 threes against Dallas for 2 aging veterans who don't move the needle? I get it. The Lakers need defenders, they need depth. They're 23rd in defensive rating and getting torched from beyond the arc every single night. But trading Rui isn't the answer, especially not for this return. LeVert's is Feeney, he's an okay defender who can create a bit off the bench, but he's not even playing 25 minutes a game in Detroit. Green is actually the more interesting piece here. He's averaging 1.5 steals per game and has been a Swiss Army knife for the Pistons. But again, he's 32 years old and on a minimum deal. The Lakers would be trading a 26-year-old who's finally found his groove coming off the bench for two guys who are closer to retirement than their prime. And let's not forget, the Pistons are 32-11, sitting first in the East. They're one of the best teams in the league right now. So if they want Rui, doesn't that tell you something about his value? Why would you give that away for scraps? Now thinking it through, I understand the logic here. You get two players for one, you add defensive versatility, and Javonte Green in particular could be a valuable bench piece in JJ Redick's system. But the Lakers just discovered that Rui works perfectly as a sixth man. He had a team meeting plus 21 rating against the Mavs. He's not being asked to guard the best players anymore, and he's thriving in 25 minuti bursts. Trading him now would be like selling your car right after you finally figured out how to drive stick. The better move, if the Lakers are dead set on adding depth, is to package those expiring contracts everyone keeps talking about. Gabby Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, Maxi Kleber, and go after a real impact player. Not two guys who might give you 15 to 20 solid minutes off the bench if everything goes right. Speaking of impact players, let's talk about the elephant in the room that nobody's really addressing. Jonathan Kuminga just got hurt at the worst possible time for the Warriors and the best possible time for the Lakers. Kuminga suffered a bone bruise and hyperextended his left knee against Dallas on Thursday, and he's out indefinitely with no timetable to return. Now here's where it gets interesting. Kuminga officially requested a trade from Golden State on January 5th. He hadn't played in 16 straight games despite being healthy. His relationship with Steve Kerr is reportedly fractured beyond repair, and he felt completely devalued by the organization. Then Jimmy Butler goes down with a season-ending ACL tear. Kuminga gets thrown back into the rotation, and in his first two games back, he drops 20 points against Toronto and 10 points in 9 minutes against Dallas before the injury. So now we've got a 23-year-old wing who's desperate to get out of Golden State, sitting at home with a knee injury 11 days before the trade deadline, and the Warriors have made it clear they're willing to listen to offers. So here's my question. Why aren't the Lakers all over this? Kuminga is averaging 12.1 points and 5.9 rebounds in limited action this season. But we all know what he's capable of when he actually gets minutes. He's athletic, he can defend multiple positions, and he's exactly the type of versatile wing the Lakers have been desperately lacking. The reports say Kuminga's trade value isn't great right now because of his lack of playing time and the injury, which means this might actually be the perfect buy low opportunity. The Warriors don't want to take back long-term money. They're trying to stay flexible for next season, and GM Mike Dunleavy has basically said there's no real market for Kuminga right now. That sounds like a team that's willing to make a deal if the price is right. I believe the Lakers could put together a package of Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, and a future first-round pick and get this done. The salaries work, Warriors get off Kuminga's contract and pick up some depth pieces plus a pick. And the Lakers get a 23-year-old wing with all-star upside who's hungry to prove himself. Yes, there's risk with the injury, but it's a bone bruise, not a structural issue. He'll be fine in a few weeks. And yes, there's risk with his attitude and the whole Steve Kerr situation. But you know what? Sometimes a change of scenery is exactly what a young player needs. Kuminga Inla playing next to LeBron and Luka, not having to worry about being the guy every night, just going out there and defending, cutting, and finishing plays. That could be exactly what unlocks him. But we're 10 days from the deadline and I haven't heard the Lakers' name seriously connected to Kuminga once. That's either because they're keeping it quiet or because they're going to do what they always do. Tell us they explored every option and then run it back with the same roster. Let's talk about something that's been making waves this week. LeBron James basically declared that this is Luka Doncic's team now. After the win in Dallas on Saturday, LeBron was asked about Luka's comfort level and he said, and I quote, "Luka don't need to bend his game. Luka is our franchise for this ball club. He don't need to bend this game. It's up to us to bend our game around him and figure it out." Now on the surface, this is LeBron being the ultimate teammate, right? He's deferring to the younger star. He's making it clear that the Lakers belong to Luka moving forward, and he's showing that he's willing to sacrifice for the good of the team. And honestly, I think that's exactly what it is. LeBron has always been great at adapting his game to fit with other superstars. He did it with Dwayne Wade in Miami. He did it with Kyrie Irving in Cleveland. He did it with Anthony Davis here in LA, and now he's doing it with Luka. But here's where it gets complicated. Shams Charania went on the Pat McAfee show this week and basically said the end is near for LeBron's time with the Lakers. He said, "The reality is here, what we're having right now. This is an end of a relationship in terms of LeBron James and the Lakers. Whether that comes at the end of this season, if LeBron James decides as a free agent to sign somewhere else, or if he decides to retire, or he decides to come back for one more year and decide he wants to retire as a Laker. The end is near with this relationship, however you want to slice it. And you know what? He's probably right. LeBron is 41 years old, he's in year 23, and at some point this run has to end. But what bothers me is the narrative that's being built here, that LeBron is being pushed out, that the Lakers have turned the page, that he's no longer wanted in LA. That's complete nonsense. Let me be very clear about something. LeBron James is still averaging 22.3 points, 6 rebounds, and 6.9 assists per game at age 41 over his last 12 games. He's averaging 24.8 points, 7.5 boards, 7.3 assists, 1.6 threes, and 1.2 steals. He scored 11 of his 17 points in the fourth quarter against Dallas to lead that comeback. The man is still a top 15 player in this league, and anyone who tells you different is lying. So when LeBron says this is Luka's team, he's not saying it because he's washed or because he's being forced out. He's saying it because he's smart enough to recognize that Luka is 26 years old, leading the league in scoring at 33.4 points per game, and is the future of this franchise. That's called leadership. That's called putting the team first. And if LeBron does decide to leave this summer, whether that's to retire or to ring chase somewhere else, it won't be because the Lakers didn't want him. It'll be because he's ready to move on to the next chapter of his life. Now let's talk about someone who definitely should be feeling the heat. DeAndre Ayton. Against Dallas on Saturday, Ayton went 4-4-16 from the field, got benched in the fourth quarter again, and looked completely disengaged. We've broken down the tape from that game, and it's not pretty. There's a play where he's supposed to box out on a Cooper Flag missed 3, and instead of using his body to seal off his man, he just puts his hands on the defender's back and watches as that same guy grabs the offensive rebound and kicks it out for 2 points. There's another play where he gets stuck on the wrong side of a screen in a basic pick and roll situation, and he's so slow to recover that the Mavericks get an easy bucket. And then there's the play where he sets a moving screen on a Luka drive, uses his hands instead of his body, gets called for the offensive foul, and wipes away to points. These are basketball 1-1 mistakes. These aren't things that happen because you're having an off night. These are things that happen because you're not locked in mentally. The most telling part of the Dallas game was that when Ayton came out in the fourth quarter, the Lakers immediately went to their small ball lineup with LeBron, Luka, Marcus Smart, Jake Lattervia, and Rui Hachimura, and they scored 34 points in 10 minutes with a plus 17 rating. Meanwhile, the starting lineup with ATN over the last 2 games is minus 15 in 22 minutes. Now, I'm not here to completely bash DeAndre Ayton. The guy is talented. He's a 7-footer with soft hands and the ability to score on the post. But he's also averaging just 6.6 points and 8.2 rebounds on a $16.6 million salary this season. And he has a player option for next year at around $6 million. If he opts out, I genuinely don't know if another team would give him more than that based on what we've seen this year. And if he opts in and comes off the bench next season at $6 million, that's actually phenomenal value. A bench big who can grab offensive rebounds, provide size, and score in spurts. That's useful. But as your starting center on a championship contender, it's just not working. The Lakers need a lob threat. They need someone athletic enough to finish above the rim, protect the paint, and switch on to guards on the perimeter. Jackson Hayes has been solid in that role when he's played, but he's also a bench player. Drew Tim has been a nice story these last few weeks, averaging 3 points per game in the D League and giving the Lakers functional minutes as a backup big, but neither of those guys is the answer to the Lakers center problem long term. That's why there's been so much talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo potentially becoming available this summer. And thinking about it, if the Lakers could somehow land Giannis, pair him with Luka, bring Ayton and Hayes off the bench, and fill out the roster with shooters and defenders, that's a legitimate championship team. But that's a summer dream. And we're talking about right now. And right now, DeAndre Ayton is getting benched in fourth quarters because JJ Redick doesn't trust him to execute. Let's shift gears and talk about something positive for a change. Rui Hachimura is absolutely thriving in his new role coming off the bench. Against Dallas, Rui had 17 points, 8 rebounds, 4 threes, and a team-leading plus 21 rating. He hit 3 crucial three-pointers in the fourth quarter when the Lakers went small ball and needed someone to space the floor. And here's the thing. Rui isn't suddenly playing better basketball than he was earlier this season. He's playing the same way. The difference is that now he's coming off the bench. playing 25 minutes instead of 32, and he doesn't have to guard the other team's best player every single night. That's the key. Rui has always had limitations defensively. He's not quick enough to stay with elite wings, and he's not strong enough to battle true power forwards in the post. But when you bring him off the bench, limit his minutes, and ask him to just shoot threes and attack closeouts, he's really good at that. The Lakers discovered this completely by accident because Rui came back from his calf injury and JJ Redick decided to ease him back into the rotation rather than throw him straight into the starting lineup. But now that they've stumbled onto this formula, they need to stick with it. Even when Austin Reeves comes back, which should be sometime this week, Rui should stay in that six-man role. He'll still close games when the Lakers go small. He'll still play 25 to 30 minutes, but he won't have to carry the defensive burden of guarding LeBron Lavelle wings for 35 minutes a night. That's how you maximize his value. And quite frankly, that's exactly why trading him to Detroit for Karis LeVert and Javonte Green would be such a mistake. The Lakers finally figured out how to use Rui properly, and now some people want to ship him out for spare parts. That makes no sense. Speaking of Austin Reeves, let's talk about what his return means for this team. Reeves has been out since late December with a left calf strain, missing 15 straight games. Before the injury, he was averaging 26.6 points, 6.3 assists, and 2 rebounds per game, and was arguably the Lakers' second best player behind Luka. JJ Redick said after the Dallas game that Reeves has been doing full work in practice and has played in one stay-ready game, which is basically a scrimmage with the coaching staff and practice squad guys. The plan is for him to play in one more stay-ready game, and then he'll be back in the lineup, possibly as soon as Wednesday against Cleveland. That's huge for the Lakers. With Reeves back, they get another ball handler, another playmaker, another guy who can create his own shot and take pressure off Luka and LeBron. More importantly, they get their second best offensive player back just in time for the stretch run. But here's what I find interesting about the timing of Reeves' return. The Lakers have actually been playing better basketball without him over the last week. They beat the Raptors, they beat the Nuggets, they came back and beat the Mavericks, and during that stretch, they figured out their small ball lineup. They figured out how to use Rui off the bench, and they figured out that Drew Timm can give them functional minutes as a backup big. So when Reeves comes back, it's not like the Lakers are getting bailed out of a losing streak. They're getting a massive talent upgrade at a time when they're already starting to find their identity. That's the best case scenario. Reeves slides back into the starting lineup next to Luka. Marcus Smart probably moves to the bench where his defense can anchor the second unit, and the Lakers suddenly have the depth they've been missing all season. The one concern I have is whether Reeves will be fully healthy or if they're rushing him back because they need him. Calf strains are tricky injuries, and the last thing the Lakers need is for Reeves to come back at 85%, regrovate it, and miss another month. But JJ Redick doesn't strike me as the type of coach who would rush a player back just to win a few regular season games. If Reeves is doing full contact work and playing in scrimmages, he's probably ready. And once he's back, this Lakers team is going to look a lot different than the one we saw struggling through December and early January, which brings us to tonight's game in Chicago. The Lakers are 27-17, riding a one-game winning streak, and their slight one. 5-point favorites against a Bulls team that's 23-22 and has won 4 straight. Now, if that doesn't scream trap game, I don't know what does. The Bulls have beaten the Nets, the Clippers, the Timberwolves, and the Celtics over their last 4 games. And they just hit a game-winning 3 against Boston with Kevin Huerter draining it from the left corner in the final seconds. They're playing at home where they're 15-9 this season, and they rank 5th in the league in fast break points with a 0 per game. Meanwhile, the Lakers are on an 8-game road trip. They're without Austin Reeves. Jake LaRavia is questionable with a quad injury, and they're coming off a game where they had to erase a 15-point deficit in the final 7 minutes just to beat a Mavericks team without Luka Doncic. So here's what scares me about this game. The Bulls are exactly the type of team that gives the Lakers problems. They're fast, they push the pace, they shoot a ton of threes, 14, 6 per game, 7th in the league. And their defense is below average at 119.7 points allowed per game, which means this is going to be a track meet. Kobe White and Josh Giddey are both averaging 18.8 points per game. Nikola Vucevic is putting up 16.8 and 9.1 rebounds, and Matas Bazelis has been killing it recently with 16.6 points per game over his last 10. These guys can all score. And if the Lakers come out flat like they did against the Clippers or in the third quarter against Dallas, Chicago is going to bury them. The Bulls are also really good in clutch situations, and we know the Lakers love to make things interesting in the fourth quarter. So this game very easily could come down to the wire. But here's the thing. the Lakers should win this game. They're the better team, they have the better stars, and they're 5-0 in games decided by 3 points or fewer this season, which is the best record in the league. Luka is averaging 33.4 points, 8.7 assists, and 7.8 rebounds. LeBron is averaging 21.1 points over his last 10 games and scored 11 of his 17 points in the fourth quarter against Dallas. If those two guys show up, the Lakers win. It's that simple. But they can't afford to sleep on Chicago. This is a Bulls team that started the season 5-0, cooled off for a while, and is now playing their best basketball of the year. If the Lakers give them a 15-point lead and try to come back again, they might not get away with it this time. They need to start strong, play defense from the opening tip, and put this game away before it becomes another fourth quarter. Before we wrap this up, I want to circle back to the big picture here, because in 10 days we're going to find out whether the Lakers are serious about competing for a championship this year or if they're content to just tread water and hope for a miracle in the summer. The trade deadline is February 5th. The Lakers reportedly have interest in Herb Jones and Trey Murphy, 3 from New Orleans, but the Pelicans aren't trading either of them. They've been linked to Michael Porter Jr. and Andrew Wiggins, but both of those guys would cost significant assets. They were interested in Jonathan Kuminga before he got hurt, but we haven't heard their name connected to him recently. And the prevailing wisdom around the league is that the Lakers are going to stand pat, preserve their cap space for the summer, and tell us that no single move addresses all their problems. And you know what? I'm so tired of that excuse. We've heard it for 5 years now. Every single trade deadline, it's the same story. The Lakers don't have the assets. They don't want to give up future picks. They're waiting for a bigger fish in the summer. Meanwhile, LeBron is getting older, Luka is in his prime, and we're wasting championship windows because Rob Pelinka is too afraid to make a move that might not work out perfectly. Look, I understand not wanting to mortgage the future for a rental player or a guy who doesn't fit, but there are moves out there that make sense. Trading for Jonathan Kuminga makes sense. Packaging Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, and a pick for a defensive wing makes sense. Even exploring a deal for someone like Dorian Finney-Smith from Brooklyn makes sense. These aren't franchise-altering moves, but they're upgrades that could be the difference between a first-round exit and a conference finals run. I believe the Lakers are a better team than their record suggests. They're 14-2 in clutch games. They have 2 of the best closers in the league in Luka and LeBron. They've figured out their small ball lineup. Austin Reeves is coming back. Rui is thriving off the bench. Drew Tim is giving them something. There are pieces here that work, but they're still 23rd in defensive rating. They're still worst in the league in three-point shooting, and they still don't have enough two-way wings. Those problems aren't going to fix themselves. So either Rob Pelinka makes a move in the next 10 days, or this team is what it is. A good regular season squad that's going to get exposed in the playoffs when they run into the Nuggets or the Thunder or the Rockets and can't keep up defensively tonight against the Bulls. We'll get another glimpse of what this team is capable of. If they come out focused, execute the game plan, and handle business against the team they should beat, that's a good sign. If they sleepwalk through the first 3 quarters and need another fourth quarter miracle to pull it out, that's a red flag. And if they lose because they couldn't stop Kobe White and Josh Giddey from going off, well, that just proves my point about needing more defenders. Either way, this game matters, not just for the standings, but as a measuring stick for where the Lakers are mentally as we head into the final stretch before the deadline. Let's see if they pass the test. Make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the Lakers should trade for Jonathan Kuminga? Should they stand pat and wait for summer? And who do you have winning tonight? Lakers or Bulls? Let me know, and I'll catch you in the next one.